Today we're going to do another cooking lesson. This is a prosciutto with poached eggs. And it's sort of like an Eggs Benedict, but a little less fat. This is prosciutto, and of course when you get prosciutto sliced, you want it sliced very paper thin. And prosciutto is sort of like a bacon or ham. You know, it's a pork sliced thin, smoked pork meat. Let's see. These are kind of like half slices. Usually they're a little bit longer. So I'm going to get about 3 complete slices. Okay. So that's normally what it kind of looks like. All right. So then we've got our 3 slices of prosciutto. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dice it up really fine into nice small little pieces. I'm going to fold it up like this and take my knife and start chopping. Just chop off the corners like that. And this is going to shrink when you cook it, so that is why it seems like it might be a lot, but it really is going to cook down to be not so much, you'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and slice this up. In the meantime, I've got a pan over here on boil. I'm going to boil some water for my poached eggs, and I'm also toasting a piece of bread. Now, this case today I'm using rye bread. You can use anything you want. I know traditionally Eggs Benedict, most people are going to use the English muffins, and you can do that. If there's big pieces of fat, I usually cut those off and throw them to the dogs later. I don't really want those big pieces of fat in there. Set that aside. But back to the bread, you can use any kind of bread you want. I'm going to use a rye bread, toasted rye, 1 slice of toasted rye bread, and then we're going to cut it in half. So I'm getting that fat stuff out of there. I don't particularly want that in there. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of dice this up into like little tiny shredded pieces. And I'll be back in a minute to show you how to start cooking it in the pan. Okay, I'm back over to the stove now, and I've got my water boiling for my poached eggs, and I've just put the tiniest little sliver of butter in the bottom of this pan, and I'm going to go ahead and add my chopped up prosciutto. So I'm going to put that right in the pan. Set this aside, and I'm going to turn this heat up a little. We're going to get this cooking because that water is ready. So I'm going to do this, and how we do this is we just kind of break it all up. And you'll be surprised, this is going to really, really shrink down. Okay, so I'm kind of got this scattered about here, broken up. And then I've got my water, it's boiling, but now I want to turn it down to a simmer. So I'm going to turn my water down to a very low heat, and I'm going to maintain this temperature on my water while the prosciutto's frying. Okay, and we're back, and I've got my prosciutto. It's nice and cooked down, and nice and crispy. I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. Now I'm going to start on my poached eggs, which don't take very long at all. I've got my water there, and I'm going to go ahead and just crack the eggs and drop them right into the water. Now people use vinegar, and I don't really like the way vinegar makes them. It makes them kind of poof up and get all poofy, and you know, all that like fat, and like it gets all blown up, and I don't like it like that. I just like them right in the water. You can see the yolk, and then the white part around is still clear. As soon as that gets like white, then I'm going to actually flip it right in the water, and it's going to come out almost like an over easy egg. I go in now that it's starting to solidify, and I cut off a little bit of those crazy weird pieces that are hanging out, so that it does kind of have a nice shape, you know, a nice sort of rounded shape. But if it doesn't perfectly round, I don't care. I don't like the vinegar in the water. I think that kind of makes them weird. That makes them kind of blow up and be weird. So while that's going on, I have a piece of rye bread that I've toasted. I'm going to put that on my plate and cut it in half. There we go. Or you could probably cut it in half on your cutting board and you wouldn't have any crumbs. So then here's how I'm going to end up serving. I've got the 2 halves of the toast. Okay, so now that this is getting solid, I'm going to come under here and I'm going to kind of get a hold of it. And I'm just going to turn it over in the water. I'm going to do the same with the other one. Get under here. See, I've got it. I've scooped it out more or less, but I don't pull it all the way out. And I just give it a little toss over. And then as soon as you'll tell when it kind of gets really solid, then it's going to be the perfect poached egg. This is cool about what I wanted to talk about was the blue plate. You know, we all know that color invokes certain things in people. That's why many restaurants are red and yellow, because that invokes hunger. But blue, the reason I have these blue plates is because blue is supposed to suppress your appetite. And I've heard that that's where the expression of the blue plate special came from, because people would serve food on blue plate like it'd be all you can eat, but they put it on a blue plate thinking you're not going to eat as much. Okay, so these don't take very long at all. I'm going to look at it. I think I want to do one more little flip on these. I'm just going to flip it right in the water really gently. Just kind of grab a hold of it and flip it over. Okay, yeah, so you can see that this part is perfect. That bottom is perfect. So as soon as that gets, you just kind of look at them. And you could see, I'm going to pull this one up, that there is still some clear in the white, and you don't want that. You want the white to be solid, but it's a tricky thing too, because you do want your yolks to be soft as well. Now this is very close to an Eggs Benedict, but I don't use the hollandaise sauce, and I don't butter the toast. If you have a nice soft egg white, if your poached eggs are cooked correctly, and you have a nice soft egg yolk, you don't need cheese, you don't need hollandaise sauce, you don't need butter. It's very rich and very creamy, and it runs down and gets all on everything. I'm going to do this one more time. Flip it back that way. Same with this one. Flip it back. Okay, this will just be probably the last time. They're just nearly there. I just wanted to get that underside a little bit more solidified. But I think this is really rich and really creamy, and you don't miss the butter, and you don't miss the hollandaise sauce, because the egg yolk is quite creamy. Like, I like a rye bread. You could use any kind of bread you want. You can use a crisp, multigrain bread or white bread. You could use 2 slices of bread. I just cut 1 large piece of rye in half. You could use 2 halves of an English muffin. Anything you want. One more flip. I know I keep saying one more flip, but I don't want runny whites. That's the part that's yucky. So it's kind of a fine balance. You just keep looking at it. I think we're really, really nearly there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn the heat off on the water, because I think that they are about done. Yeah, this one's done. Look at that. That is the perfect poached egg. So I'm going to just slide that off. Let it drain a little on my thing. Slide it right onto that toast. I'm going to do the same with the other. See, it looks almost like an over easy egg. It is like an over easy egg cooked in water. It's not all puffed up with all this stuff coming out of it because it was made in vinegar. Okay, I'm going to come down and we're going to reposition this camera a little bit. There we go. So there it is on the plate. Now you take your, and you could use anything. I've used bacon bits for this. You can use crumbled sausage. If you're a vegetarian, you could use crumbled up Morningstar. I make it that way for my daughters. There's my crumble. This is probably a little bit too much prosciutto, so maybe 2 slices of prosciutto would be better. It didn't shrink down as much as I'd hoped. And there is your finished product.